Have you ever sat there on a random Tuesday night, opened your banking app, looked at your savings, looked at your investments, and thought, is this actually worth it? Because you're doing everything people told you to do. You're working, you're saving, you're trying to be responsible, and yet somehow being an adult feels like running up a down escalator. Every month you push forward. Every month something pulls you back, and after years of effort, you can still feel like you're standing in exactly the same place. But here's the truth. The reason it feels so hard isn't because you're failing, it's because you're currently fighting through the hardest stage of wealth building, the stage where almost everything depends on you, and almost nothing depends on your money. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why your first £100,000 changes absolutely everything, and why most people quit just before things start getting interesting. Let's be honest. The average UK salary is roughly £38,000. After tax, national insurance, pension contributions, and normal life expenses, most people aren't investing thousands every month. They're trying to save a few £100s. Maybe less, and that's if nothing goes wrong. Then life happens. The boiler breaks, the car needs repaired, your insurance goes up, your rent increases, your food bill jumps again, and suddenly that money you planned to invest disappears. Again. That's why wealth building feels unfair, because at the beginning, every pound has to come from your effort. Every pound has to come from hours of your life. You aren't rich enough for your money to do any meaningful work, so you're carrying the entire weight yourself. And that's exhausting. You watch someone with £1 million portfolio make more in a good day than you save in a month. You see people online talking about passive income. Meanwhile, you're trying to decide whether you can afford another takeaway. It feels like a completely different world. And in some ways, it is. But here's the part most people never understand. The gap between you and them isn't always as big as it looks, because something strange starts happening as your investments grow. Something almost invisible at first, then impossible to ignore. At year one, you might have around £6,000 invested. The growth is tiny compared to the money you're putting in. You're doing all the heavy lifting. But then years pass. £10,000, £20,000, £30,000, £50,000. And slowly the balance starts moving differently. The numbers become bigger. The gains become noticeable. The graph starts curving. And then you reach a point where something incredible happens. Your money starts contributing more than you do. Let me show you what I mean. Let's assume a long-term average return of 7%. Not every year. Some years will be higher, some years will be lower, but 7% keeps the math simple. If you have £10,000 invested, 7% is £700. Nice, but life-changing? Not really. At £25,000? Around £1,750. Better? Still not enough to make you sit back and relax. At £50,000? Around £3,500. Now you're starting to notice it. But wait, because this next number is where people suddenly see the game differently. At £100,000 invested, 7% becomes £7,000. Every year. Potentially. Without working extra hours, without asking your boss for a promotion, without doing overtime, without selling anything. Just because you own assets. £7,000. And that's where the psychology changes. Because suddenly you realize you're no longer building wealth alone. Your money has joined the team. But here's the crazy part. £100,000 isn't the finish line. It's the beginning. Because now the maths starts accelerating. £100,000 growing at 7% becomes £107,000. Then £114,490, then over £122,000, then over £131,000, And that's before adding another penny yourself. This is the force that creates millionaires. Not luck, not secret investments, not magic. Time, consistency, and compound growth. The process where your gains start generating their own gains, then those gains generate more gains, then those gains generate even more gains. It's like rolling a snowball downhill. At first, you're pushing the entire thing yourself. Eventually, the snowball becomes so large that gravity takes over. And this is exactly where people make their biggest mistake. Just before the snowball gets rolling, they stop. They cash out. They panic. They decide investing doesn't work. Or they finally start earning more money and immediately it's gone. A nicer car before the ink dries on the payslip. A more expensive phone on finance. The rent creeps up because why not? You're earning more now. The subscriptions multiply. The meals out become the norm. The income goes up, but the investments don't. And the worst part? It doesn't feel like a mistake in the moment. It feels like a reward. It feels like you've earned it. And maybe you have, but the snowball never gets bigger. And 20 years later, they're wondering where all the money went. The people who build wealth aren't always the smartest. Often they're simply the people who stayed in the game long enough. So what should you actually do? Open a stocks and shares ISA if you haven't already. Automate your investing. Make it leave your account the day you get paid, before you get the chance to spend it. And focus on increasing your income, because frugality alone has a ceiling. That's it. Because wealth building is boring until suddenly it isn't. The first £1,000 feels impossible, then £10,000, then £25,000, then £50,000. And eventually, one day you open your account and realize something. The number is moving faster than it used to. Not because you've changed, because your money finally has enough strength to help. So if you're watching this right now, feeling behind, feeling frustrated, feeling like everyone else has figured something out that you haven't, remember this. The first £100,000 isn't important because it makes you rich. It's important because it's the point where wealth building stops feeling impossible. It's the point where the engine finally starts working with you instead of against you. And the person who reaches that point usually isn't the most talented. They're the one who refused to quit, even when progress felt invisible, even when it felt unfair, even when it felt pointless. Keep going. Because one day you'll look back at the version of yourself checking their bank balance on a Tuesday night and realize they were already on the other side of the hardest part. They just couldn't see it yet.